Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we are discussing some exciting new reveal. Last night, Bushiroad showed us these draw trigger perfect guards. So as you can see, these are regular draw triggers, 5k power and all, but they have 0 shield and instead have the perfect guard skill. They are double Rs inside the new V booster. Now, for the remainder of the video, I am going to assume all clans will eventually end up getting these. Bushiroad is known for making these kinds of changes clan-wide, so let's go over this. There's 3 angles I want to discuss when looking at them. 1, my general thoughts. 2, how they work in premium. And 3, what are the financial implications here? So first off, my general thoughts. I think this is really cool. Previously, most draw triggers were just included into decks because the decks wanted to run draw triggers. Apart from Gatling Claw, maybe some Soul Hungry decks or stuff like that, draw triggers were generally terrible draws. The second you drew into one of these, you went oh fuck, because you knew it would be an empty 5k shield and it could have been an extra draw trigger had you seen it at some other point. So giving draw triggers this extra usefulness is really nice. Secondly, on the flip side, drawing into perfect guards early generally sucked, especially when you had to ride into them. So now, instead of wasting a valuable grade 1 slot on something you never ever want to ride and generally only want to see in the later game, you can just use draw triggers for that. So this makes the game better when it comes to ideal ride consistency, opens up space in the deck, and replaces a card you generally didn't want in the deck anyway. I'm quite hyped for these PGs, to be honest. This also really helps with unit-reliant decks like Aquaforce, because you really need all the rearguard slots you can get. Apart from that, this may also increase deck building strategy. Do you want more useful grade 1s or do you want to run 12 critical triggers? Do you sacrifice the aggressive push in your trigger lineup to increase the aggressive potential in your grade 1 lineup? This really adds an interesting deck building dimension, especially when you start to consider premium. So let's get into that second point of the video. Premium, I'm going to assume that in standard, most skills will be built around these draw triggers. I assume we won't get a Silent Tom skill, at least not early on, and that draw trigger perfect guards will eventually be the standard. But in premium, we got quite some interesting guard restrictions that would vanish and appear. What do I mean? Well, in premium, there are plenty of cards that obviously restrict you from guarding with grade 1s to get around perfect guards. Think of Balam, Dragstrider Luard, Wailing Tavas, and so forth. These were always scary finishers because you needed to save up your G-Guardians for them. You simply couldn't guard these giant beatsticks with just grade 0s. But now you could. So the value these cards bring would be limited heavily if people started shifting towards these grade 0 perfect guards. But with people shifting to grade 0 perfect guards, certain cards also gain way more value. Cards like Rhino in Great Nature, Baleful Repressor in Dark Irregular, and most scarily, Ichikishima in Oracle Think Tank would get way scarier. Because these restrict grade 0 guarding use, and when all your perfect guards are 0s and your highest guard cards are also 0s, you can see how restricting 0s as guardians is quite scary. I guess the implications these will have on premium will become more clear over time, but I think it will bring some very interesting deck building and meta shifts. The third and final point I wanted to discuss is finances. If you haven't been around for a long time, let me explain. In the beginning of Vanguard, the large majority of the price of your deck was your perfect guards. These were $20 to $25 a piece cards for most played clans. There were some exceptions like Grand Blue, their RPGs were cheap as hell, and there were some other clans like that, but generally, played clans in competitions and so forth, their perfect guards were $20 to $25 a piece. Relative to the value of the rest of the deck and the market of all Vanguard cards at the time, this was expensive, very expensive. The reason for that was that perfect guards had a lot of value because it was the only thing that could stop random trigger sack reliably, and they weren't part of trial decks. Bushiroad later fixed this issue by putting perfect guards into trial decks and printing more different versions of them. So When I saw that the new reboot trial decks would have perfect guards, I was very happy. It would make quite some clans accessible from the get-go and would keep the cost of the game down. However, these draw triggers could change that. If draw trigger perfect guards end up being the ultimate choice inside standard, and considering that these cards are double Rs, they may actually become quite expensive. And when we look at the trial decks that have been partially revealed up till now, Royal Paladin and Kagero, these do not include the perfect guard draw triggers. We're getting Runoria, a grade 1 PG, and Margel, a regular draw trigger, inside the Aichi deck. So it's quite safe to assume we won't be getting draw PGs inside these trial decks. This means the draw trigger perfect guards could become quite expensive if they end up being mandatory staples. Of course, as always, only time will tell, but I will be keeping my eyes peeled. Hope you found this interesting, and if you did, please subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel and click the bell button to stay up to date. That bell button is so important, it keeps people notified. Don't forget to pick up your Zero Damage Gaming playmats at the link in the description. We just put out this female blaster dark mat. You can get 10% off your first order using the code LAUNCH, and I will see you soon. Ciao.